Welcome to DESCareers. I'm so excited. This is our very first diplomatic interview. Today we're going to be meeting with Her Excellency Roseann Benjamin, who is the Consul General for Grenada. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
I am so excited to be interviewing you today and to be meeting the wonderful people here at the consulate. Our students back at Dubai English Speaking College are always very excited about careers that could take them into the diplomatic world. So being here with you today is a real honor, and I want to let you know just how much we appreciate you giving us some of your time today.
It's indeed a pleasure to have you as well.
I have so many questions. I would love to learn more about Grenada, definitely about your role, and also about the woman behind this role as Consul General. I think we're living in a time where young women are looking up to role models just like you. And so I want to take an opportunity to tap into these different elements of your life and your career, and of course, the wonderful country that you're representing for us here today.
Okay, so where do we start?
I think let's start right at the beginning. We can start at where we are right now. We're sitting in this incredible office. We're in Dubai. You're representing Grenada. You're the Consul General. How did this begin for you?
Okay. So that's always an interesting question. And I always try to understand in my own way how I should start. First, I always think in life, nothing is impossible. If someone had asked me maybe 30 years ago, would you see yourself in this position? Clearly, the answer would have been no. Coming from a small village in Grenada, the rural community in Grenada, growing up, more or less into the farming community. Because Grenada, it's a tourist destination, but we also depend on farming as well. And so, yes, I did have a very good education because, my parents would have seen it fit to send me to each of the stages of development as much as possible, meaning primary, secondary, college, university. And we always have the saying, when you grew up poor, you don't need to die in that same position. So you need to try your best to move on beyond. And so I have been blessed to enter into the professional career in terms of teaching. So I have been a teacher in Grenada for many years. And in teaching, I thought, I'm comfortable. You get to reach out to students. It's good. You see that you've been touching lives. But then I got the opportunity to, through the government of Grenada, through scholarship program that the government of Grenada have with many countries around the world, I was able to go to China to do my master's. And there I did my master's in management. Again, one would ask China. And again, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have said, no. But, you should never limit yourself. And that's one thing I learned. Never think that you cannot do it. Because when you least expect, that's when it happens. So you need to keep an open mind. And so after my studies in China, that's when I got a global perspective. That's when I realized, I am not limited to just teaching students and seeing these students excel. I need to do something with myself as well. Because, as a teacher, we get to see pilots and we get to see doctors and politicians and everything like that, diplomats. And where are we? We're still in the teaching profession, which is, an excellent profession. But I wanted to do more. And that's when I started saying, okay, this is where I'll be going. And so the government of my country, realizing that I had that ability. And so basically, in a nutshell, that's when I got into the missions. You know, it's quite interesting as a woman, because I assume one of your questions may be how, you know, how it goes in a country, for example, that is more or less male dominated. So of course I have not just been faced with the challenge of being a female in what we see historically as a male dominated profession, because I remember growing up, most of the diplomats would be male. And now we have the females taking that role now. And also you have young females. And that's one of the things as well that the government of my country push for females and for the youths. Because of course the youths are the future, you know, of the generations to come. So that's where it basically started.
Incredible. I want to take you back to what you were saying. Growing up in a family where luxuries were not what we imagined them to be. And I think a lot of our students and young people across the globe believe that to have an esteemed position such as the one that you have to have an incredibly lucky beginning of either coming from a wealthy background or coming from a political family who guided you into this. And to hear you say, well, actually, that's not how it began for me, I believe brings a lot of young people the hope and the belief that, wow, that is very possible for anybody. And then starting your career as a teacher, again, allows us to understand that you don't have to become a lawyer or a politician to then transfer into a role like this. What do you believe were some of those transferable skills, other than the ability to speak to lots of students and meet professionals? But if you think back to that time as a teacher, what would you say some of those transferable skills were that you use every day in your current role?
Okay, so one of the major things that helped me, you know, when you, as a teacher, you get to meet parents, you know, stakeholders. So of course, just interacting with the parents of different, sometimes nationalities, of different family backgrounds, of different thought patterns, and some persons come in with different issues, social issues, and so forth. You know, I never thought that these things would help me to be where I am today, because in the missions, in the diplomatic mission, you meet people with the same, almost the same issues. Maybe not in terms of dealing with students, but the issues, basically, people have different nationality, people have different religion, people have different social issues, and they come to you for assistance. Now, you need to be patient. You need to be understanding. You know, you need to walk along with them. In some cases, you need to hold their hands and walk. So the same baby steps sometimes that you take with the students, similar have to apply in the diplomatic missions in some instances. Because for some people, some of the issues that, you know, for example, me, some of the issues I have to deal with, it's new to me. You know, persons come with different requests every day. Again, some people have different needs in terms of they may be behind, for example, with some sort of documents. So we say they need it as of yesterday. And now you have to see how soon, and you have to be careful how you speak with them, because apart from needing that document yesterday, these people may have different social issues dealing with as well. So similar. So the education, my career in education now has taught me, wow, you know, being a teacher, it is so deep, because it exposes you to be anything, I think, you would like to be in life. So yes, you don't need to be a doctor or a lawyer in order to become a diplomat, but you can be a farmer, you can be a teacher, you can be whatever, because I have enjoyed farming. It's one of my passions. And the same question may ask, how does farming help you where you are today? Same, patience. You know, sometimes you might be in the garden and you have seen all the plants grow to get to one stage, and this disease may just take all your plants and they may die, or it might be infected by pests, or some animal, wild animal, come to eat off everything. So you have to exercise patience, you have to exercise understanding, and it creates a level of peace and humility. I think most of all, you need to be humble in anything you do in order to proceed in life, because you find sometimes persons, whenever they have gotten to a particular position, you know, they see themselves above other persons, but you always have to remember where you came from in order to have a good idea as to where you're going, and sometimes humility is the best solution to that.
I think that is probably one of the most important life lessons to learn for anyone, regardless of age, is that humbleness, that understanding of the journey ahead, but also remembering the journey before. Let's talk a little bit about some of your previous roles aside from teaching. I know that you've worked in social work, you've done management, education, you worked in police reform, foreign service. Such a wealth of variety of career paths. Talk to us about the experiences of the difference between social work and prison reform. I mean, they're just so different, but I can see so many similarities in how you would have to be dealing with the needs of the person in front of you, understanding the empathy. But as an individual, experiencing those different types of support opportunities, how was that for you in those different capacities?
Right. So again, you know, I always look back and smile because, you know, I started my career as a teacher, and it was during my time in teaching, I would have taken, you know, that time, study leave, to do my first degree. Of course, it would have been in psychology and social work. Why did I choose psychology and social work as my first degree? Again, from students. So many students with social issues. And honestly, I didn't think I was doing justice in how I dealt with these students. I didn't understand sometimes. I listened, but I don't understand. So I needed to have a deeper understanding as to how to deal with these students and also their parents and the community at large. So that's when I went into social work. Now, during my social work study period, we did the internship program. And then I thought, I need to get more involved. How do I get more involved? And so I decided to practice at the prison and at the mental institution. And it was indeed a challenge because it was the very first time that the prison would take anyone from outside, from society, to get into the prison system to do any form of practice. Because of course we know the prison is a high protected area. So having to go through all the protocols, sometimes it felt like it was not going to happen, but I thought to myself I would be able to make an impact. One of the things I've also noticed is that because of juvenile delinquency, we had a couple of our students in the prison, and I needed to reach out, not just to the mass population of the prison, but also to the younger persons in the prison. And finally, I was able to get into the system. And I thought, because I'm blessed to get into the system, I need to maximize, make best use of it. So I did my practice. And after that period was finished, I decided I'm going to volunteer my services. So I continued volunteering my services at the prison for at least 3 years during my holiday time. Now, it was quite interesting as a woman in a prison where it's dominated by men, of course, being able to understand as well, the minds of these people. Again, that influenced me a lot to maybe even where I am today. Similar for the mental institution. And the list just goes on and on. It keeps getting more and more interesting. And throughout my path in life, I've always been interacting with mostly the males. So I must say that at the school I taught, it was an all-boy secondary school where we had just about 1,000 boys only. Again, transformed into the prison, same. The prison, maybe just around 200-300 prisoners, most of which males. The mental institution, again, males. So we see that there is an issue, yes, in the schools, yes, with the males, they're being educated, but at the same time in society, there is an issue where it concerns the male gender. So that also motivated me. As a woman, I need to do more. And we need to also look after our male population as well, because I think they're threatened.
Incredible. So much experience. And I know that a young person thinking about working in international relations or working in consular services, they believe the job will look a certain way. But what would you, if you could bring it into context for them, what is a typical day for a consul general? Considering that your day is not just what you do here, your day is every relationship that you are mending or supporting, every educational platform that you're using to create culture awareness and helping the society of Grenada to really start to evolve as the world is, really. How would you bring your role into context? So if we were to say, what's a typical day for the Consul General of Grenada? How would you respond to that?
So I would say a typical day, it's a full day. Why did I say full? Now, as a Consul General, or anyone in the diplomatic missions, I would think, well, let me speak for myself. My responsibility here, it's like I have the entire country in one place. Now, in Grenada, you have different ministries and different persons set up for different roles. In the consulate, the Consul General deals with everything. So if there is an issue with health, I am the Minister of Health. If there is an issue with education, I am the Minister of Education. If there is an issue with social development, youth, whatever, I say Minister of. Simply being that we have to, at the consulate, deal with every matter here. If it's beyond our limit, then it's taken to Grenada. But whatever issues anyone have, we deal with it. So for example, we need to get persons into a university in Grenada. Then I would have to go there and promote that university. I would have to promote education. I may have to seek assistance for education in Grenada. If there is an issue with agriculture, maybe there is something in the UAE government is giving some funding for agriculture, I would be the one to be sent there. So in other words, as a Consul General, you need to have a holistic approach as to everything, including immigration, including, literally everything. So a typical day could be a 24-hour. And for me, sitting in the Middle East, it's even more challenging because of the time difference. There is an 8-hour time difference between our time and Grenada. So usually, whenever in the UAE, our work ends at about just 4 o'clock. That's the time when work starts in Grenada. That's when I have to now be doing all the correspondences with Grenada. So, it's nice. It's challenging, yes. So, some persons might say, oh, this is nice. I would love to be a Consul General. I would love to be an ambassador. but there is a lot that comes with it. So you have to be prepared, where your background have to be strong enough, as we said previously, where you need to have the experience and the exposure to many things, I believe, in life to really understand how to deal with the situation that you may be faced in. And whenever you get into it, like now, you have to be the one that is able to deal with everything holistically. So my typical day is also spent in a lot of thoughts, because you need to understand, what do I do next? How do I do this? When do I do it? Because not everything that you think about means that it can be implemented at the same time. So sometimes you just need to go with the flow, act on your feelings. You need to spend a lot of time thinking, a lot of time meditating, a lot of time in yourself, because you need to make sure you make the right decision at the right time.
Incredible. Who decides where in the world you'll be located when you're a consul general? Is there an application process, or do you make the requests? I think young people are wanting to know, well, I like Dubai. You know, if I did do a job like this, would I be able to go to a country like the UAE, or, you know, do I have to apply and they tell me where to go?
Okay, so in my position, it's a decision that is taken by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So they're the ones that decide who goes where.
Incredible. Which parts of the world would you say, when you think about, as your journey evolves in this role, where in the world would you like to be representing Grenada?
Africa.
Why?
Similar, I think I would be able to reach persons not just on a diplomatic level, but also on a community level. And whatever impact I can make to especially the poor and vulnerable, I would love to make that positive impact.
A lot of our students think about the careers that they want to be going into or applying for. Many of them think it's a university degree, and then they'll figure out what that degree can offer them in terms of occupations. Many of our students, when they're sitting down thinking about university applications, are thinking, what experiences have I gained outside the classroom? So the mention of internships and work experience comes up quite often. But in hearing you retell your story and how you began your career path, and hearing you, I think you mentioned a couple of times, reflecting on what else can I do? What other experiences should I be considering in that depth of experience? Would you say that a student considering a role like yours should be really specific and request to do an internship in a consulate, or would you suggest, no, they really should be thinking in broader terms?
Definitely. I think broader terms is the way to go. If I were thinking solely in consulate, maybe I would not have been where I am today. I never thought consulate. Yes, it may have been in the back of my head somewhere, subconsciously. But at the same time, you know, I just wanted to help society. That was my main objective. And whatever opportunity I got, I grab hold of it. So, you know, whether it's just going out in the village with the church group or the social group or whatever, to help persons to share food, for hampers, you know, to visit the home for the aged, to assist, as I said, at the prison, or whatever way possible. But you get involved, and once you get involved, your physical presence are felt. People understand and people know that you're there, you know. So I think having a taste of the you know, the wider perspective is more important than just limiting yourself to just, you know, just this job.
And I imagine that the wealth of experiences that you've had, the learning that you developed by meeting the variety of different people that you have, from being a teacher in a classroom to observing a prison and working in social work, would bring the essence of the quality of understanding that you need as a Consul General. Would you agree?
Certainly.
Now let's hone in on your gender. You did mention that being female in what is considered a male-dominated environment and industry was one of the challenges, and you look at that now, and do you ever think to yourself, look how far I've come. I'm not just representing Grenada, I'm representing every little girl in my country that believes anything is possible. I am the true example of that potential. Have you ever really taken in that? And if you have, how are you using your presence as a female influencer in your country, showing little girls all over Grenada, look what you can achieve? And how are you using that to empower not just the little girls and the females, but also in re-educating society back in Grenada to say, it doesn't matter what your gender is, anything is possible?
Right. So since I've been in the mission here, I have not been given the opportunity to spend time in Grenada as yet. So the honest answer is I have not been able to touch lives, especially with the females and the youths in Grenada to date. And yes, I do have plans, and my plans is to visit as many of the schools as possible, because I always believe that in order to reach out to a mass number of persons is through education, through the schools, because the students, they have little friends that they would speak to, they have their family members that they would speak to, and information goes out there faster with the students than any other form of media, I would believe, like that. So yes, I do have plans to visit the schools and actually compile something nicely together to let persons know, especially in the rural villages, because I do have this thing for the rural village, that it is not impossible, especially as young girls, and it doesn't matter what family background that you have come from, but the main thing is your mind and knowing where you would like to be later. You may not be 100% sure, but once you have this little ambition, it would take you quite far. You just need to have one little window open, and that's all you need, really.
I think that's wonderful to hear. And it doesn't matter who's watching this, just understanding that tiny little opportunity is an opportunity for so much potential. I'm just so incredibly honored to be here and speaking to the woman behind the role. I think sometimes when we see titles like Consul General and when we refer to a Consul General as Her Excellency, it puts the individual in a position of feeling, wow, what an incredible honor to be here. But in hearing you talk to me today and listening to the stories, I feel very connected to the individual behind the role. The impact of what you do is, it's enormous. It's beyond you, and you represent an entire country. How heavy of a responsibility is that for one individual to know that when people meet you, when they talk to you, that it's not Her Excellency, it's Grenada. You're no longer just an individual. Every experience that you have with somebody will be a representation of your country. How heavy is that of a responsibility?
Right. So sometimes it can be very heavy, because I always have to remember that sometimes I need to separate country from self, because at one point, yes, I am representing country when I am out there, when I am in here. And so whatever I say, whatever I do, however I dress, Um, whatever it is at all, it represents country. Whenever I wear this flag, it represents country. At the same time, I am self as well. I have families, I have friends, and I need to be me at some point. So sometimes it's very challenging because some of the things it's just human. Some of the things you want to say, some of the things that you want to do, how you want to say it, how you want to do it. You're sort of limited to a certain extent. So sometimes, yes, it can get to you, I think, as everybody else, because you don't have that level of freedom to say and do as you please. But yet, you get into a job knowing what it entails. So when you get into something knowing what it entails, then you do what you ought to do or what you're expected to do.
When you decide to step down from your role and carry on to your next adventure, what do you want to leave behind that makes you feel that you were a woman of impact?
Right. When I go into my next adventure, I want to be able to do something so great, I think, in Grenada, even here in the UAE, that generations later, they can look back and say, this was maybe one of the greatest consul generals that ever passed through the UAE or represented Grenada. Again, it is not impossible. If you ask me what it is, I am still working on it. But I believe that when it happens, I would know, I would feel it. I start feeling it already, actually, but I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I know it would happen.
Incredible. I see in front of me a woman of great confidence, a woman of determination, of purpose, of responsibility and professionalism. What do you see when you get ready for work and you put the flag on your lapel?
I see almost the same thing. I'm from a very spiritual background and beginnings. And whenever I wear that flag, it reminds me of the many things I took for granted. Sometimes we live in a society where we're not happy with so many things, maybe with the political system or a social system and everything like that as an individual, because we interact with the masses and our mind is more or less corrupted with so many things that society would say. But whenever you're placed in a position where you have to defend your country, defend your society, then you realize that you see things in a different light. So whenever I wear this flag, whenever I get ready for work, I feel Grenada. I feel allegiance to the government, to the flag, to the people of Grenada, something I've never felt before. And I assume any person that's sitting in similar position may have similar feeling. But for me, it's just a deep sense of respect and loyalty to country.
What a wonderful wrap up of an incredible interview. Thank you so much for being here with me today and joining Dubai English Speaking College on this journey of meeting an incredible Consul General. And that brings us to the end of one of my most exciting, and I say that with deep respect to every Spotlight speaker I have ever met to this date. Meeting Her Excellency Roseann Benjamin was a humbling experience. I feel like I am meeting one of the most empowering women I have ever met before. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all again at our next DESCareers at Dubai English Speaking College Spotlight.